Go on, Mead. Strong. Strong. Don't even.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Mount Pleasant Town Council. I hope everybody had a good time out there. I tell you what, the singing and the food was fantastic, so really appreciate them doing that for us, and I hope everybody had a chance to take a part in that. So item number 1 is the prayer, and we'll go to Chaplain Laura Bowman.
Let us pray. Dear Sovereign Lord, we thank you for this day, for this beautiful weather, and for everyone that's gathered here. We thank you for allowing us to live in a country where we're permitted to meet freely and exchange ideas for the betterment of our area. We ask that the word of the day be civility, that everyone in this room would have their hearts and their minds open so that they might all listen to everyone in the room and hear and think about what's being said. And in that manner, Lord, we would ask that everyone be heard. Bless this council, bless these people that are here, and may all their discussions this evening be pleasing to you. Amen.
Amen. We'll have the pledge by Miss Laura Hyatt.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Item number 3 is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
All right, we got a motion. We got a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 4 is public hearings, awards, and presentations. Number A is special employee recognitions. Mr. Chapman, you will do us the honor, please, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, with me, I'm Howard Chapman. I am the chairman of Town Council Public Services Committee. With me tonight is the Director of Public Services, Andy Weiss.
You doing all right?
Also with us tonight, Todd Campbell. Todd is the Waste Management Operator, Crew Leader. Paris Kinlock. Mr. Kinlock is the Waste Management Collector. And Maurice Simmons. He's also a Waste Management Collector. Tonight, we're going to talk about the fact that these gentlemen did a heroic thing in their job. They saw something, they courageously acted, and they cared for the individual, just like the Good Samaritans in the Bible. On Tuesday, July 26th, a resident in the Riverside area of Carolina Park fainted while mowing his yard. These gentlemen saw what happened. They courageously went, stopped their work, jumped off their truck, and went to help him. They didn't know what his condition was. They didn't know what his medical history was. They didn't care. They courageously went to the gentleman. Mr. Campbell, I believe, is the one that noticed the resident faint, and the crew ran to provide aid. They cared for one of our citizens deeply. They went and helped him with water. They got him up. They called 911 and waited with the gentleman until 911 came and took him to the hospital. He was transported by ambulance to the hospital where he was examined and released. But for these gentlemen, he might not have been released. Their quick thinking, their willingness to courageously go beyond, way above and beyond what their job is and help a man is what they write about in the Bible. And we thank them for that. Now, after the man was transported, the crew went on about their business, went on about their regular day's work. Didn't think anything of it. Just doing their job. Just doing their job out on the street. The next day is when we found out about it. On Wednesday, the 27th of July, the resident called to relay this story and stated he was so grateful for our employees and their quick action and their kindness to him. Because of your efforts, I'm sure the resident was able to go on about the rest of his work, but he also is still alive today. So, and because of your efforts and willingness to help a resident in need, the town would like to give you these certificates, which Mr. Weiss is going to hand to you, and also give you, grant you each a day of administrative leave to be used at your discretion. There's a few other things we're going to do. Those aren't ready right now, so we're going to give you the certificates and allow you to take a day off at your discretion, an administrative leave. Thank you very much on behalf of the mayor, on behalf of I'm going to get a picture. They can hold the certificate.
We have you all take one step this way. Center it up. There we go.
Stay like we are. Hold your certificates out so they can see them in the audience. There you go.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Item B is special commendation by my former colleague and Representative Joe Bustos. Joe, if you'd like to come up.
Good evening, Council. Many of you may have seen recently a very dramatic, heroic video of one of our officers removing an individual from a burning vehicle. This evening, Representative Bustos is going to provide a special commendation. I'd ask FTO Doug Richards to come forward. She can come up. This is his daughter.
Absolutely. First of all, not many people know it, but I was a police officer in the city of Charleston for a number of years. And, you know, we never know, or I say we, police officers and firefighters never know what they're going to see when they go on duty every day. And you have to be mentally and physically prepared to deal with that, with whatever comes along on that day. On this particular day, there was a lady trapped in a burning car, and Field Officer Richards sprang into action, and he saved her life. He helped get her out of the burning car, and that's the type of thing that most of us now don't have to deal with on a daily basis. And we see police officers across the country, police departments being defunded, police and firemen being maligned. But I'm proud to say here in Mount Pleasant, we honor our police officers and all our first responders. And certainly in the House, and I have a certificate here that says that the House of Representatives wishes to commend and recognize Field Training Officer Douglas Richards. And this is a piece of paper, but thank you so much for what you do for us as the general public now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief.
Appreciate it.
All right, Chief, item number C is Police Explorer recognition, and I'll
So I'd like to call up our police explorers and Captain Pat Carter. Captain Carter has done a tremendous job with our Police Explorer program. We've had one for many years, but he has truly taken hold of it and revitalized it in the last couple of years. I want to ask him to briefly explain the Police Explorer program and highlight some of their recent achievements in a statewide competition.
Thanks, sir. So Law Enforcement Explorers is an opportunity for youth ages 14 to 20 to participate in training along with the police department and gain experience alongside of us and let us mentor along with them to see if they want to pursue a career in law enforcement. They participate in special events, community events, and competitions with other Explorer posts. We hope to have them go into law enforcement, and that's where if you see two of them are in a different uniform because FTO Bales and Officer Trent Hill came up through our Explorer post and have been able to join the agency and serve along with us. So we're pleased to have grown them inside, and we've had 10 others that went on to work for other public safety agencies over the time. So our particular ones here, including Officer Hill, because he was still Explorer with us back in January. We competed in winter scale, and he was able to get second place in collision reporting, and then the team finished in second place for unknown traffic stop and third place in high-risk traffic stop. And then we went to summer scale up in Columbia this year, and then we've placed first in collision reporting, third place in driving, first place in the advisor scenario, and then our teams finished first in DUI checkpoints, first in protest response, second in active shooter, second in drug arrest, and third in high-risk traffic stop. For some reason, we do pretty good on traffic. I don't know why. But we do a lot of that here. So, but very proud of the young men. They're fine examples and have come out and helped us on a lot of special events. And it's just a pleasure to get to work with them and see them grow and develop. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
wait for everybody to get out. All right, item number 5 is the approval of the
Move to
minutes.
approve.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 6 is the public comment period. I want to read a letter from the mayor. He couldn't be here tonight, but he did ask me if I would at least read this and let everybody know. We are all seeing the concerns expressed by residents in the 526 Long Point corridor about SEDOT's draft of proposed alternatives. We are inviting SEDOT to the September Town of Mount Pleasant Transportation Committee meeting where they can respond to concerns we are hearing from our residents. I won't be able to attend tonight's council meeting, but I would like for that to be made public. And so I'm letting you know, the mayor had written this to me and wanted me to express that to you, that we will be having SCDOT come to our transportation committee to discuss that, and the citizens are welcome to attend. Okay, so we will move on. We will to public comment period. Those who have signed up, we will call them first, and then we will finish with the folks who haven't had a chance to sign up, maybe came in later on or have not signed up. So, Mr. DeMora, if you'd like to go ahead and start calling them up, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Ladies and gentlemen, we have several speakers. I'm going to call up first two individuals, two at a time. First one to speak, the next one to be a few feet back, sort of on deck. And then after that, I will call up the next person. First speaker is Mike Tinkey, followed by Gayle Smither.
Good evening. I'm Mike Tinkey, 208 Venning Street, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. I'd like to thank each of the members of the Police Judicial and Legal Committee for forwarding this to the agenda tonight on the noise ordinance, proposed noise ordinance. I'd also like to thank the town council and Mayor Arnold and the town staff for having a thorough, steady, and analytical comparative research on gathering the facts for noise ordinances, looking at similar towns, and to conduct this 3-month pilot led by Chief Arnold and the police force. We appreciate it. Overall, the result of is much improved over the previous draft. We've gone from the dirty bottom 7 to close to the top 10, and I think we're getting really close to being one that we can be totally proud of. There's just a few things that need to be done because a lot of good work has been done. One, the maximum decibel level on page 3 of 5 needs, I recommend it be 50 decibels for nighttime, and the nighttime hours being 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. This is especially important where commercial and residential areas connect. The current ordinance has daytime hours ending at 9. Very few complaints are happening, so why change now if that's working well? Also, very importantly, is sound may be louder than what you hear, and the decibel scale is logarithmic, which means that the sound at 20 decibels is 10 times more intense than 10 decibels. So you have to think about any time you increase it, it's very loud. The number 3, I'm sure this was just an oversight, but just to make sure that lawn care equipment and agricultural field equipment, as well as delivery and service trucks, are servicing from 8 to 6. In other words, no nighttime hours. I don't think it was ever envisioned to be through the night, but it wasn't specific in the ordinance. And the same thing for construction. Construction wasn't specifically mentioned in the ordinance, and so I would imagine we want to keep it pretty much what it was, an 8 to 6 Monday through Friday, no construction during nighttime hours, Saturday and Sunday. So we really, that's what we have today, and so we're not having construction 24 hours a day. I don't think we want that. Violations, it's good that the violations are at 500, but I think there should be escalating. And then in the noise ordinances, I would look to reconcile the noise ordinances with other codes because there is some conflict in the codes. Got my time, huh? All right, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Smither, and Jacob Robertson is on deck.
Good evening, council members. My name's Gayle Smither. I live at 419 Bayview Drive. I appreciate the fact that the PJL committee has put together a very good plan and pilot ordinance. I particularly appreciate where the ordinance addresses the rhythmic bass that can be heard in plainly audible definition. I also like that the ordinance has specific prohibitions on amplified sound heard in any residence. I'm concerned that the decibel level of 60 for amplified music, it could have a problem because it could be considered still reasonable at 65 or 70. And I say that because I reported amplified music during the pilot program. An officer came to my house at the property line, measured it at 58, and told me it was reasonable. if the decibel level is greater than 60, it should be enforced and not a discretionary issue. I think that's part of the problem we had with the old ordinance or the current ordinance, in that there was ambiguity in what was enforced and not enforced. I ask that the mayor and council members also reconsider changing the evening hours to 7 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. I say that because in this new ordinance, it defines where there is a specific prohibition for building after 9 p.m., building noise after 9 p.m. The current ordinance for special permits, special event permits, is exactly what I'm asking council and the mayor to take over to the noise ordinance. 7 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. I do appreciate your thoughtful deliberation. It's a valued one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Caroline Lisane.
Thank y'all for being here and allowing me to speak. My name is Jacob Robertson. I'm the bar manager of Vickery's. I really like the fact that there's been a time implemented. I think that is a major improvement. So, surely Monday in the afternoon can't be the same level and time as a Saturday night, you would think. I could see where maybe the times could be adjusted a little bit during the week, because I get it. People have kids. You got to go to school. People got to get up for work. I understand that. I don't think that 10:30 is too late on Friday and Saturday nights. I'm kind of looking at me as a bedtime, and most people I know, 9 o'clock during the week, and you get to stay up a little bit later on the weekends. That's when people are off. That's when people do have the time that they are allowed to go out a little bit later and not have to worry about getting up for work the next day. As far as the decibel level goes, I read my neighbors at 64 the other day, and they were having a kid's birthday party. It was probably 12 to 14 kids running around, no music playing. But my point to it being is, I don't expect to sit in my house in silence and not hear anything from anyone all the time. Sometimes you're going to hear some things. Turn on your TV. I'm not going to turn off and expect to sit in my house and never hear my neighbor's kids playing or a dog ever bark. I see where it can get excessive, but I think that has to be taken into consideration at the same time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Shannon Carter. I'm sorry.
I'm Caroline.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Caroline Lisane. I live at 310 Bennett Street in the Old Village. My family has lived in that house since 1967, so you can imagine the changes that we've seen. I just want to thank you for your support of the ordinance and your attention to the noise ordinance and your attention to that. I do implore you, as a resident and as somebody who literally backs up to the Pitt Street Business District. My house is directly behind Pitt Street Pharmacy, and I own the alley that is directly behind the Post House Restaurant. Just simple crowd noise. People sitting, their patrons sitting in that restaurant, enjoying their dinners, enjoying their conversations. I can sit on my porch and hear almost verbatim what those people are saying. If I go with a decibel meter reader and go right at the property line, quite often it exceeds 55, sometimes 60 if somebody's laughing or yelling or something to that effect. There have been some moments when they've had some loud music. Thankfully, they have worked on that with the neighborhood, and we appreciate that. But I really do support 55 or less. And then with the hours, I'm comfortable with the hours that y'all are talking about, but I just want you to know, if you really want to know what the experience is like, come sit on my porch with me on an evening. You can sometimes hear the music and the bands on Shem Creek. You can hear boats going by on the harbor playing loud music. You can hear the young people around the corner from me that have loud trucks that go boom, 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 boom as they're going down the street. For me, for the last 2+ years that the Post House has converted their outside dining area. I have endured crowd noise on a nightly basis. So I do ask that you be considerate of the residents that live near these businesses. Thank you.
Jamie Bratton.
All right, Shannon Carter, 3034 Hook Lane. The quick. That's just a quick 10-second clip of what it sounds like in a backyard on a weekly basis. That video doesn't even do it justice. I was only allowed to do a 10-second, but I have dozens and dozens and dozens of videos like this that speaks to why I'm here today to address the noise ordinance. Appreciate all the work by the council staff and police thus far. I feel like there are a few areas of additional improvement to help address things like that, where it's on a constant basis, have no freedom inside my house or outside of it as a result of a brewery that backs up to the property line, as you can see here, in the proximity of where they set up live music to where I live at 334 Hook Lane and where my neighbor experiences the same. So those areas feel like address and concern is just a plainly audible standard. The concern that it allows for unwanted conversation level inside the dwelling. I think that should just, recommendation there, proposal would be to strike that language around conversational level. Additionally, secondly, is the specifically prohibitive items E2 and E4, which are that cover radio, stereo, musical devices, and amplified sound. Most municipalities have much more restrictive provisions for amplified sound and music devices, addressing the impact across real property and not just inside of dwellings. So my recommendation would be to strike the inside of the property related to those two specifically prohibitive items, E2 and E4. Also have other sample language there that I've found many municipalities using with directional forest distance. Lastly would be fines for a number of people, obviously for live music and playing stereos goes on for hours upon hours. So one fine for $500 for some maybe just be viewed as a cost of doing business. Propose that an every 15-minute continued violation of that would be a separate fine, and then adding a nuisance provision.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Acafano, go ahead.
I just have one question for you. I apologize. I see your name on the I see you on the list here with the call-ins. Do you know what the decibel level was by chance? Did you take a reading?
Oh, I've got many others with others, but that's around 60.
That
I mean,
was your
yeah, that's what it sounds like. 60 in conversation is wholly different than amplified sound. It all throughout my house, you cannot escape it.
All right, thank you.
We're neighbors. During
Okay.
the trial period, the 72 that was recorded came from our front yard, not our backyard, our front yard. The high
Thank you.
was 72.
On the other.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, thank you.
Next.
Matt Sharif, come on up, please.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Bratton. I live at 338 Hook Lane. Mr. Carter is my neighbor. In the video, that was my backyard picture, and that's what it sounds like every Sunday, sometimes Thursday nights, sometimes Saturday nights. We are not, we're not here with an axe to grind. We're pro-business. We understand that businesses, bars, and restaurants had to do some creative things during COVID, but we're past that now. We need to be good neighbors again. I appreciate what the council, the mayor, especially Chief Arnold, Captain Carter, and other good citizens have done to get us to this point, but I do have some specific issues we need addressed. In Section A, the definition of plainly audible, as Mr. Carter just spoke about, normal conversation is pretty ambiguous. I have low-talking friends. I have high-talking friends. That's an ambiguous definition. I'd like to see that language stricken from the definition of plainly audible. Section C, the daytime hours, some others have spoken to, being defined as 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Median age in Mount Pleasant is roughly 40. Around 58% of our residents are over the age of 35, and 48% have children under the age of 18. 10:30 is past bedtime or knocking on bedtime. So I'd like to see that reduced to 9 p.m. And then finally, in section J, under violations, would like to add some language there, as Mr. Carter spoke about, to specifically address repeat offenders of the noise ordinance being deemed nuisances and, could face revocation of business license. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Mac Cross.
I'd just like to make sure everybody knows this is only first reading we're doing tonight. So we appreciate all the comments. We will have a second reading on this. So tonight is a first reading only. It's just so you know, when you walk out of here, it's not a done deal yet.
Matt Sharib, are you present, sir? How about Stephanie Sharib? Not yet, ma'am. It looks like Stephanie and Matt Sharib not present. Okay, so Mac, come on up, please. Okay, thank you very much, sir. And then Tommy Dinkins on deck. Go ahead.
Good evening. Mac Cross, 1496 Goblet Avenue. I'm here as the applicant for the Central Mount Pleasant PD amendment. You all have heard from me. The ordinance as it's currently drafted prohibits a direct access from the subject property to Hungry Neck Boulevard. My request is for that to be amended, either to remove it altogether or to modify it to allow for a right-in, right-out access from the subject property onto Hungry Neck Road. And earlier today, sent out the proposed location for that right-in, right-out curb cut, which would align with the True Hotel right-in, right-out curb cut directly across the street. It would be centered on the existing raised concrete median that runs down the middle of Hungry Neck Boulevard. And I believe the staff report has that as a slide if it needs to be referenced tonight. I'm available for questions, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Chris Coleman.
Tommy Dunkin, 1612 Florentia. How are you guys? Good to see you again. Okay, so on April 12th, me and a whole bunch of my neighbors showed up, and we had a laundry list of problems with Gather, including size of project, proximity, public safety, general quality of life concerns, parking that's already insufficient, and then the high traffic volume that would come from this massive commercial project. So since that date, the developer, Matt Cross, has demonstrated a willingness to try to coexist with us harmoniously as much as possible. Several of the changes you will see or have seen that he submitted here today were results of direct communication, compromise, and effort between Mac and the homeowners. While many of us in the 72 units that exist in that neighborhood have different wish lists, two primary concerns were parking and the streets, the high commercial traffic on our residential streets. So I'm going to talk quickly about those and these changes. So by sharing the parking access on Hancock, allotting spots to his employees that are on his property, he's made no other changes to our parking. We've basically alleviated the parking concern that we brought up on April 12th. Great job. Regarding the high commercial traffic, by closing the main access point straight down to Fortier, which is a residential street, adding appropriate signage, and then the right in, right out on Hungry Neck. Massive improvement. It's going to dramatically reduce the unnecessary traffic and those hazard and safety concerns to our residents, our pets, our kids. Tons of traffic is going to go out that main way. It's just logical, right? And it's also going to free up the traffic on Midtown Avenue. So at that first meeting, we were pleading with you all to remember that the people's homes were 30 feet away. The original plans basically had that commercial project bleed right into our front doors. With a lot of communication, open-mindedness, and general good humanity on Mac's part, we have found a way for the residents to maintain their quality of life with Gather, while Gather can still be profitable and a great improvement for the town of Mount Pleasant. So we support these revisions, and we ask that the town support them too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nick Mead.
Ms. Barrett, would you be kind enough to pull up my presentation? Thank you so much. Chris Coleman, 118 Pitt Street. I'm back again. Next slide. First, a big thank you to all of you. It's terrific to be here with an ordinance that I can support, and you've done a lot of work. I really appreciate the council and the staff and the police work that have gotten us this far. As you've heard from a few other people, there are a couple of gaps that I'll talk about. Let's go to the next slide, and I think they're pretty similar. One, I have a leaf blower, but it's really about lawn care equipment and when it can be operated. Then you've heard about construction noise and when you can do construction, and then plainly audible. So let's go to the first one, leaf blowers. Okay, you don't even need a recording of this to know, oh dear God. Now, I'm not going to propose to you something crazy. I don't do stuff like that. What I'm going to propose to you is that you adopt a standard that says that a leaf blower should be average or better than average in terms of noise rating. It's easy to enforce. It's not asking anybody to do anything impossible, and let them take a couple of years to put it in. Next slide, please. Okay, so the real issue here is that leaf blowers and all lawn care equipment are exempt from the ordinance if operated during daylight hours, which is either 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. during the summer, or it's 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. I don't think you mean to do that. I think you need a much more restrictive standard than that for operation of lawn equipment. But in particular, if you can just make the smallest improvement in leaf blowers, you will make a difference to everybody in this town. Next slide. I just did a little work. I can show you that you can go to Home Depot. You can get 70 dB rated leaf blowers. About half of them are that. Go to the next slide. Consumer Reports, same thing. You can see some are noisy, some aren't. Let's just encourage people to use quieter ones. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so we'll skip to the next one. I think I've covered that. Yeah, and then I've given you suggested text to use. All right, well, I'm going to run out of time here, as I so often do. So next slide, please. Okay, construction noise, there's nothing there. I think because it's extremely irritating and it brings people into your neighborhood and parking, you need something in here. It was there. I threw in something. I don't provide any pride of authorship other than I think a provision needs to be there. Thank you so much, and I will leave it.
Thank you, sir.
Pam Gabriel is next.
Hello, my name's Nick Mead, 1006 Planners Curve. I want to thank you guys for everything you do. I'm not going to waste much of my time thanking and all that. It'll be disappointing for our town, restaurants, and local musicians if this ordinance passes at the level that it is. Here tonight, the music our tax dollars paid for was over 60 decibels from outside of the building. Places like Grace and Grit, Mainland Container, Home Team Barbecue, Gala Desserts, Locals Raw, Shem Creek Bars and Restaurants, they can all be affected by this decision. I think we should hold off on our decision until we conduct a more thorough study. One thing I have heard tonight, and it's from the gentleman back here, I actually think that we need to figure out a way for places like that brewery to be able to have live music, but be able to help them and have livability. Same thing with Mainland Container Company. They were there before the condos got put in, but now condos are in their property line. That means right there at their property line at 60 decibels. So I propose that we continue the study and try to do a more thorough study on that from each business that has been affected. Maybe possibly go around to every restaurant that does live music and then find out what it is nearby. Tonight, we've had speakers. Everyone has been over the 60 decibel reading talking on this microphone, except for speaker number 4. So the microphone in here alone is over that 60 decibels. So I know I have another minute, but I think that pretty much adjusts everything. You know, I thank you guys again. To touch on the leaf blowers, I mean, again, you know, we could sit here and go all day about all the different things that cause noise, but I'll go ahead and stop tonight, and thank you again. Hopefully we can stop this.
Well, as I said, this is only first reading tonight, so we have an opportunity to work on it some more before we get to second reading. So we really appreciate everybody's opinion.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl Askew. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Pam Gabriel. I am on the Historical Commission, but I'm here as a private citizen begging for a Mount Pleasant museum. I am traveled the state, and every little town seems to have a museum. We don't. We have such a wealth of history in this area that all the new residents who have moved in have no idea how special this place is that they've chosen to call home. Our school children need to know about the history of the area. This is becoming their hometown. I beg you, please, we have to do something. The history is being lost. We are a wealthy community. We can afford this. We are not a bedroom community of Charleston anymore. Our history is uniquely our own, and we need to celebrate it. It needs to be apparent. We have bragging rights. Let's use them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, for those of us who have been here for a long time, can remember when we did have a museum here,
Yes.
right next to where Shem Creek Crab House is, that building to the left of that.
Yes,
I remember going in there.
that was a private individual. She had at her own
Miss
cost.
Lou Edens.
Yes, she had the one in the Commons, and she had one over by Shem Creek.
That's right. I remember. Thank you very much.
George Freeman.
Good evening, Pearl Askew, 977 Gastonville Road, Allendale. And I do remember the museum and Miss Eden.
See, we're beignets.
Absolutely. It's been here, a lifetime resident. What I wanted to mention this afternoon is the growth in the upper part of the northern Mount Pleasant, the 10-mile community. We've been fortunate to have a turn lane on Gastonville Road, and also Beehive with the Bees Landing project. But the Bees Landing project also consumes Gadsdenville Road as well, because they come out from the Bees Landing project into Theodore Road, trying to get northbound, south or north. We need a turning lane there. The service station that's just across the street that was just recently opened, the traffic is increasing. We've had incidences on that area, and some of that area on Theodore Road is the town of Mount Pleasant as well, along with Bees Landing. In that aspect, I would like for Public Works and the town council to consider looking at that area for traffic light and turn lane. We would appreciate that in the 10-mile community. And also, the other concern is developers that's coming into the 10-mile community. We've had instances and a document, a memorandum of facts stating that they would help the community, the settlement community, and they have not kept their promise. This was devastating to us as a community, especially a settlement community that needs the support so dearly. They've promised and they just don't come through. I don't know what can be done or said from council side, but I wanted to make this a statement of facts. We do have a letter signed by the property owner saying that they would help the community with, especially our community center that needs the upkeeping so badly, and they have not come through. So I just wanted to mention this, that as we move forward with land acquisition in that area, we need the support from the town as well as Charleston County. I do appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Augie Anderson.
Good evening. George Freeman, 1450 Bowman Road. I'm here to follow up on what Ms. Askew just stated about developers coming into the neighborhood. We've been talking, Ms. Askew and I, and some other community leaders, and we've discovered that it's not just happening in 10 Mile, that they did the same thing to us as well to them. They promise one thing, and then when the project is done, they give us what they feel like, and then dare you to challenge them in court. I know that's not a responsibility of the town, but one suggestion that we have is that possibly when these projects are going through the development, if we do agree to do things with the developers, that those things could be noted or recorded as we go through the process, so that there is a paper trail within the town that these agreements occurred with the community. Even though you can't enforce it, it would be a documented trail of what's happening with the communities that are allowing these developers to come in and do this, because the developers, the community are trying to hopefully work with the developers. And like Ms. Askew said, a lot of the communities are in need of money. So sometimes the community is willing to forego something that's not allowed in order to get some help from the developer. But we are noticing a trend, and we're hoping that the town can help us so that we can break this trend with developers. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Yes, ma'am.
Josh Stevens.
Hi,
Hello.
Angie Anderson, not Augie, it's all right.
Augie's an old name here in Mount Pleasant.
And I'm here on behalf of the 526 Long Point Interchange, and there are several neighbors. I just kind of want everybody to stand because I don't think they're all going to speak. So if y'all would stand just so they know who's here because of that as well. We really need your help in navigating the procedures of the options that are at play. I've been attending the 526 meetings since May of 2018, mostly just to be involved in how we'll mitigate the noise of 526. I didn't give my address, sorry. I'm in Grassy Creek, 396 Tidal Reef Circle in Grassy Creek, right on the Long Point, and there's a frontage road. So I've been going to these meetings since 2018, and it's never been talked about that they're going to expedite something because of the port traffic. And so the meeting on August the 2nd, this last Tuesday, was the first meeting that they brought these options to the public. And I think it was pretty evident from everyone who attended that two options are pretty much favored in this, and that's option 2 and option 6. And that is a raised semi-bypass that would go really bend right in front of Grassy Creek. This is, visually disturbing, but I think what was more disturbing was that in the meeting, they couldn't talk at all about the impact that these options would bring to the neighborhoods. So I just wanted to talk quickly about those. Traffic safety issues, and I think another neighbor is going to speak on that. I won't go into a lot of detail, but they want to eliminate the left-hand turn into Bell Hall. And there's 1,200 plus homes in that neighborhood, and then including Grassy Creek and Tidal Walk. And if you route most of those cars over to Chick-fil-A to turn and then on Paul Foster, it would be a disaster. And they couldn't speak about any mitigation of how they would handle that. It would block a firehouse, there's a school, there are children everywhere. That was one of the issues. Another one was noise. There was nothing mentioned about sound barrier, and if it's raised up, the sound is going to travel to more neighborhoods. And I don't know how you can put a sound wall up to cover an overpass, but they couldn't speak of that. I have a tidal creek that runs behind my house, and there have been flags put on some of the trees back there. And I asked about that and said, are you going to encroach on wetlands? And nobody could answer questions about that. So we really just need your help in seeing that all these impact studies are done before any option is chosen. We can't have DOT just make a hasty decision that's going to impact homes, neighborhoods, and future impact to Mount Pleasant. Thank you. Any help you can give.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, that's all I had signed up. So if each would please give their name and address.
Okay.
That'd be helpful.
So ladies and gentlemen, you still have an opportunity to speak. Just give your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Jenna Stevens, 302 River Oak Drive. I did not realize I was going to have a time test, so I'm going to speak fast. I'm in front of you today urging for your assistance in mitigating potential devastating effects to individuals in your community. While I completely support reducing the traffic on Long Point, the impact that trucks have on the businesses and the families and residences, people that live there is devastating. But moving, creating a poor access road and moving traffic to the other side of 526 is not the answer. It's just creating another problem. Not only does this poor access road directly impact several neighborhoods and at least 2 homes in particular, it could have other devastating effects for the rest of the homes and families in these communities. I could talk about the impact of home values, wildlife, environment, all of that, but I really want to talk about safety. The Port Access Road would put trucks physically closer to Grassy Creek and Tidal Walk in particular. This reduced distance poses risks on various levels to everyone in those neighborhoods, but especially the children who often play, bike, run, walk in those neighborhoods along Seacoast Parkway and also in the woods that are on Seacoast Parkway. By shifting traffic that close to these neighborhoods, you're shifting danger even closer to our children, leading to an inevitable tragic accident. Not only does shifting the traffic that close to neighborhoods result in direct physical harm due to the reduced distance, the fumes from those trucks result in a significant increase in exposure to pollutants and potential health problems. Angie did talk a little bit about rerouting that traffic, closing that left turn lane from Long Point to Bell Hall. And I just want to kind of reinforce that that is a direct access, that Bell Point Parkway where all the traffic would be rerouted. That is a direct access to the fire department, Bell Hall Elementary, PCA. There's a sidewalk along Paul Foster. Hundreds of kids are walking and biking to school every day on that route. If you are rerouting all of the traffic plus the cars of 1,200 homes down that one road, you're putting these children at risk and potentially also impacting the fire department and their ability to dispatch their crew to help those that are in need. So I'm not a mother, so this Port Access Road and increased traffic around the school doesn't really affect my children because I don't have any. But as a child-free person coming to you to protect our children, this is a reminder that this issue is important. It's not an individual issue. This is a community issue. So as a resident of this community, I urge you to take care of our children because someday they may be in the position that you're in, but that's if you take into account their health and safety. Thank you
very much. Eric, let me ask you, the road that we were going to build coming off of 526 to go toward the port, is that still online, or are they still planning on doing that as well, or in this project?
No, sir, I believe you're speaking to some.
Can I ask for a point of order? That's not on our agenda.
I'm just asking him a question, if it's still a viable option.
We showed several improvements in that area. They're very localized projects.
Okay.
What DOT is working on is a different project than those options we showed a long time ago.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Last and certainly least.
Yes, sir. Please.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, my name is Paul Trush. I live at 320 Bennett Street. I want to speak to the proposed noise ordinance. And first of all, thank you for your hard work. I think the proposed ordinance is a great improvement over the existing ordinance in most respects, with a couple of caveats I'll get to. But I think it shows council's willingness to put the well-being of its residents first. And I know Chief Arnold was very instrumental in this 3-month trial period. I thank him and his department for their efforts. I mentioned a caveat. Right now, the extension of the daylight hours from 9 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. Seems inexorable to me. In my world, 10:30 p.m. is bedtime, not daytime. So I urge you all to reconsider that and bring it back to the existing 9 p.m. And secondly, the 60 decimal level right now would be until 10:30. Remember, that's not 20% more than the 50 decimals. It's logarithmic. I used to know something about interest rates. Marcy would agree with that. But I know nothing about logarithms, but I just know 60 decimals is a whole lot more than 50 decimals. My house backs up to a restaurant with a liquor license. And liquor at nighttime at 10:30 means people are going to be loud. So I urge you all to take it back to the existing 9 p.m., if not earlier. But again, I think it's a positive step, and I thank you all. I thank the chief again, and I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is that it? Anybody else? I see people getting up. All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate your opinions. We'll move on now. Item number 7 is to consent items, and there are no consent agenda items. So we'll go to number 8, planning. And I think this is the first time in my 22 years of being on council that we have no planning new business items. All right, so we'll go to old business. Ms. Reed?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Motion for an amendment to remove the condition prohibiting the right in, right out.
Second.
Okay, so, Mr. Parliamentarian, we've got a motion, two motions and seconds. So do we have to vote on the second one first, or do we?
Correct, sir. The first was on the main item, the second is a motion to amend that, and the second item should be taken first.
Okay, so the second item will be taken first. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I knew you'd have something, Mr. Chapman. Go ahead.
Well, this part was put in at my request during the planning committee meetings. And I had the opportunity with our staff to meet with the developer on this, and the idea of a right turn in and right turn out directly opposite true works for me, and I think that's a good compromise. There is a median in between, number one. I would also, after working with our transportation office, propose that a right turn lane on Hungry Neck be put in with that right turn out, in and out. And after that, I would vote on the motion.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. So now we go to the original motion
As amended.
as amended. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
Final reading ordinance number 22046.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. That was the quickest time you've ever been up here, I think. All right, so now we go to item number 9. Once again, I think this is one of the first times in my 22 years that I've ever seen where we have absolutely no committee action items. So that's great. We're doing something right. All right, item number 10 is council business, new business.
Motion to approve items 1 and 2.
Okay, we got a
Second.
motion. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, let the
Yes.
record reflect that I abstained on the Carter budget.
Okay,
That's resolutions
All right.
22081 and 22082.
so 8-0 with an abstention. Okay, thank you, sir. Item 3 is first reading orders to repeal and replace section 13, I'll say 132.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr.
Yes, ma'am. Pam?
Just want to clarify for the public that on first reading, we cannot amend the ordinance, so it has to pass as is, and it can be amended on second reading.
Right. I think I said that a couple times, that this is the first reading for this ordinance. So do we have a motion?
Yeah, it's
I
already
think
on.
we have a motion and a second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Rambo.
I'm struggling with this one because when you really look at it, most of lawn equipment, most of the things people actually complain the most about, lawn equipment, construction noise, traffic noise, it's not that they're necessarily exempt, but they really don't have a decibel limit, nor can you really set one if a construction activity is what it is and it has to be a certain noise level. So really when it comes down to it, it's very much targeted at the hospitality industry. It's very much targeted at our local musicians. And when you look at the decibel charts, I did a test at my house where we put a speaker in the yard next to us, had a decibel reader at the property line, and then went inside the house. I couldn't hear it inside of my house until it was over 65. It was like 68 or 69 before I could even really hear it inside of my house. And so I know we can't amend on first reading. I don't think 60 is reasonable. I think it needs to be a little bit more than that. I do agree with a lot of the public comments that 10:30 might be too late on a Sunday night, a Monday night, a school night, so to speak. But on a Friday or Saturday night, maybe that is the right thing.
So I do think this needs a lot of work. I don't know. I just feel like it's targeted at one specific industry and doesn't sit right with me.
Well, thank you. I know that it's various, well, not even industries so much, these mufflers on these trucks that go up and down and wake people up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think that's also a big part of it. We see it all the time. All you do is go to town center and they'll go into the parking garage at town center and set off every car alarm in there and then take off. And so you have to sit there and listen until the alarms go off. Well, so, I mean, there's a lot of things I think that this is, pointed toward helping the public without having, noise that could be lowered. And so I think that's just one of them. Anyhow, anybody else? Jim?
Mr. Pagliarini, on the muffler issue, is there not a state law that governs mufflers?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the police already have the authority to fine or, whatever to the people who have those mufflers. We do not need to have that in our ordinance.
That's correct, ma'am. We do not need to have it. As we discussed at committee, one of the reasons was at least to make citizens aware that exists. So that would be a reason to keep it in, but you are absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I had no idea myself. Yes, sir, Mr. Acafano?
Did you say? Well, I want to thank everybody for the work they did on this, and I do agree that we do need some type of meter because it's too subjective. My question to Council, Mr. Pagliarini, is there cases in which sometimes you write a law in which is so strict that a court finds it unimaginably or will not uphold that law? Is 60 decibels realistic in the court of law?
Sir, I answer that because it's multifaceted. The first part is, and I think this lightly touches on your question, is that there's always prosecutorial discretion. And what this ordinance, at least in part, aims to do is provide some discretion. As far as your question, we have canvassed the entire country for these cases. And of course, every court is dealing with different issues, different challenges, different ordinances, so there's no one size fits all. As a general matter, courts have, the ordinances that have been stricken by courts are 60 decibels or fewer. That is typically what courts are saying are too restrictive. I will tell you, however, you can look at any jurisdiction, any state, anywhere, and there are a number of ordinances out there with 60 or less. So, those stand. It could be a matter that they haven't been challenged. They could have been written differently. So.
Okay, thank you. And I do think there is work to be done here. I could see a Sunday through Wednesday time change. I understand Thursday, Friday, Saturdays being later. I did take my decibel reader out and I don't know if landscaping, I'm not clear. Is landscaping, and I understand this can be amended, is landscaping covered under this?
So landscaping during daytime hours is specifically accepted. And
is daytime now 8 a.m. on here?
Sure.
Or is it daylight?
As it is an exception, it's not subject to the daytime hours. That is one area that could be more specific. As it is currently written, that would be during the daytime. And the basic reasoning for that in most model ordinances that you see across our commercial enterprises that are doing lawn care and lawn work typically start very early.
I was out at 7:25 and they were popping between 69 and 72 decibels on my property line across the street. I didn't have a problem with it. I hate to see these businesses ticketed and put out of business. So I do agree with having the ability to measure and to come together as a community. I don't think we should sanitize our community too much. So I look forward to many amendments to this. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Mr. Santos, I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Corley?
So a yes vote, so a no vote tonight would, if this fails, that means that the pilot program would just stay in place? No, the pilot program would end then?
The pilot program is complete. That is why PJL brought this to full council. So if this motion fails, then all the work on the noise ordinance over the last 8 months is
gone.
Gone.
So from here on in, we just go through committee and get all the tweaks that we want to get done, right? Okay.
Yeah, but this can go back to committee.
Okay.
It's, all the work isn't gone. I mean, committee could then discuss it again and bring forward a new one with changes, but it would just be first reading again.
Well, Mr. Paganini, like procedurally, if this fails on first reading, then can we bring it back to council?
Yes, ma'am, it could be brought back.
Okay.
You'd have to go through the process again, back through committee,
So-
but it could.
Well, even with this first, if it gets approved on first reading, it can still go to committee in September and then have the amendments made at committee level and then brought back with a sort of slate of amendments ready to go for September reading, and we can get this. This has just been, to me, we've been noodling over this for like 9 months. And also, this is as a percentage of calls that the police department receives, this is minuscule.
small.
Like 2%, and the pilot program demonstrated that. And the majority of the, out of thousands of calls, yeah, percentage-wise, I'm saying, yeah, it's a tiny percent. So the majority of the things were the policemen self-doing, deciding themselves, they heard noises and they were going to test that. So it's a very, very tiny, there's certain sort of repeat offenders. I think passing this on first reading, letting PJL, take into consideration all the public comment and then any feedback from council, we can put together a slate of amendments so that we can do second reading and get this on the books. Because right now in the pilot program, the police did not have the authority under the pilot to fine anyone under the new ordinance because it was just a pilot program, which is why no one was fined under the ordinance, because the old ordinance was what is reasonable. So once this new ordinance is in place, there is not discretion. If it is 60, if it is above 60, that is a violation of the ordinance. So.
There's discretion. I believe there's discretion.
No, there's always discretion.
Okay, folks, we got a motion and a second. Jake?
So one just further comment on that. I feel like sometimes when we amend something on second reading, if it's a small amendment, like we're going to change this one thing or whatever, then that's fine. But when we're talking about, in discussions with folks, lots of different amendments potentially being offered, I feel like it's hard to then get that out to the public so they can fully evaluate what the potential might be. So if committee wants to discuss it and, propose a slate of amendments, I think that's great. I would just love to see those, maybe we publish what the ordinance is written now and then what this whole slate of amendment is publicly before the next council meeting. So that way the public has the time to review what that could be.
Yes, sir, there's a few ways that can be done. Certainly going to committee, and then that will give us at least the idea of the amendments that committee wants. And another way of doing that is if council members want to propose at least to legal, there's no way that we can include all. I can envision amendments that are opposing, right, at times. So, but we can create a document at least with all of the alternatives if that's what council wishes to do. It could theoretically come back to council just for discussion next time around. Again, that doesn't move us forward with the votes, but if that's your primary concern, we can do it that way.
And question for Mr. Pagliarini, can this be deferred on second reading back to committee if we do not feel comfortable with passing it on second?
Absolutely, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask a question for Chief? So the pilot program has expired. And even if this passes, it's still first reading, so it doesn't go into effect. So what happens right now if someone calls and complains about whatever neighbor doing something loud?
We would enforce the current ordinance as we have in the past. Our first approach is always to ask them to turn it down. We generally get compliance with that. Where we start writing citations and other enforcement action is when we get called back again and we continue to disregard the request.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, so we have 2 noes, right? Jake and John.
First reading, ordinance number 22049.
All right. So now we're on to old business. Final reading. Ordinance to amend zoning code section
Motion to approve items 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Thank you very much, Jim. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Our next item is an executive session.
Motion to approve the slate as provided by the HRE committee.
Second.
I'm sorry, that went really fast. I have a comment on number 2.
Okay, well, we got a
On
motion
B-
second. Go ahead.
B2, on the Economic Development Incentive Program. I voted against this at the first reading, and I am, once we do the vote, I guess, again, I am going to vote against it again. And I just want to say why is that essentially this is giving economic development incentives to some businesses and not other businesses. I just think we should treat all the businesses the same. It's geared towards giving incentives to larger businesses and corporations that have succeeded through the pandemic, while it doesn't give those benefits to smaller businesses depending on their, what category of business they are or where they're located. And I mean, do we really even need to be giving these incentives? I mean, the property values are skyrocketing. I just don't see a need to give this away, and I don't think it's fair to treat businesses differently. So that's why I voted no, and I'll vote no again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, just for the
Yes, sir.
record, as I understand it, old business item B1 is a unanimous 8-0 vote, and B2 is a 7-1 vote, unless I misunderstood. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So noted. All right, so we have a motion and a second for the Health, Recreation, and Events Committee recommendations to serve on the Recreation Advisory Commission.
I'm sorry, who was the second on the Recreation Advisory Commission? Thank you.
Mr. Chapman. I'm not sure who would put
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
All right, so we got a motion second. Any discussion? Of course, Jake, go ahead.
Well, I just have a question.
I'm just kidding.
My mic is
Here,
off.
you can have mine.
Do we need to say the names publicly of who we're
At this point.
appointing? Do we need to
You
read the
can.
list of, we can't, I mean, if we don't have,
Yes, sir, you can. I mean, the slate was approved by, there is a list, and if it's council's wish, you can have those names read into the record.
There's no requirement.
oh, okay. I thought when we were appointing commission members, we had to say who we were choosing or,
Sir, in this case, as I understand the motion, it's for the slate approved by committee.
perfect. That's good.
And,
Then-
right.
There you go. All right, once again, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. I think we set a record. Good job.